Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar Youth Feed Their Minds, Now Feed Their Bodies, presented by Afterschool Works New York, the New York State Afterschool Network, and the United Way of the Greater Capital Region. My name is Chris Knightsey, and I will be hosting this webinar today. Just so you know, that while this is specifically for the Greater Capital Region, a lot of this information will pertain to programs outside of the Capital Region. So we'll get to the agenda here. First off, we'll start with the Summer Food Service Program. That'll be presented by Jessica Underhill, Director of Community Impact for the United Way of the Greater Capital Region. We will then transition to the Child and Adult Care Food Program. That'll be presented by Saleah Blancaflor, the Food Programs Coordinator Vista for ASW NYSAN. We will then move into a Q&A session where we will answer any questions that any of the attendees may have. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please enter those into the chat box to the right of the screen underneath the Participants tab. Also, this webinar is being recorded, so we will have this available at the conclusion of the webinar. We'll also send out these slides in addition to that recorded webinar to anybody that's attended this webinar here today. Thank you, and I will be turning it over to Jessica Underhill in just a minute.
Thank you, Chris. I am going to be talking about the Summer Food Service Program, especially how it relates to the Greater Capital Region. But again, as Chris said, a lot of this is applicable to summer food service programs across the state. Just a little bit about United Way of the Greater Capital Region. We serve a 5-county region in upstate New York: Albany, Rensselaer, Saratoga, Schenectady, and Schoharie. United Way is an international organization, but each community and each local United Way has leeway over the issues that they address in the community based on community need. So in 2013, United Way decided to address hunger. We started the United Against Hunger initiative, and we have been supporting the Summer Food Service Program and summer meals since 2013. As part of this initiative, we also support some food partnerships that combine food access with food education. But in terms of the Summer Food Service Program, we don't actually serve any meals ourselves, but we do provide a lot of more resources to providers, including grants, volunteers, staff time and expertise, awareness and outreach, and making connections. So what does summer look like, especially for low-income children? In the Capital Region, about 52,000 children eat free reduced price meals during the school year. So in the summer, they don't have access to that resource, and families often spend $50 per week extra on food in the summer. Especially low-income children can lose 2 to 6 months of learning during the summer, and children are 2 to 3 times more likely to gain weight in the summer. So with all being said, Summer Food Service Program started to address those issues. And as you can see in the chart on the bottom, we've been making great strides as a region in increasing participation. In 2012, we were reaching 1 in 7 kids, and now we are reaching almost 1 in 5. But again, that's only 1 in 5. And as we saw on the previous slide, that means a lot of kids whose families need to spend more on food, a lot of kids who could be losing learning and gaining weight. And research has shown 3 major barriers to participation in this program are access, awareness, and stigma. And so I'm going to be talking a little bit about how you can be involved in addressing those 3 barriers. So the Summer Food Service Program, this is the structure of it. It is a USDA-run program that in New York State is overseen by the Education Department. So they approve, monitor, and provide training for this program in New York State. The next level is called a sponsor. and that is the administrative and fiscal agent for the program. They take care of the paperwork, they get the reimbursements for the meals, and they are involved in the planning. And then the next level is the site, which is the actual physical location where meal service takes place. And that can be the same as a sponsor, or it can be a partnership with a sponsor. And I'll discuss a little bit more about the differences coming up, like right now. So a way to increase access to the summer food service program is to have more meal sites. And two ways you can get involved to do this is to become a sponsor or a site. And I'll go a little bit into a sponsor. Anyone pretty much can be a sponsor if you're not a for-profit entity. So schools, universities, colleges, government, private nonprofits, camps, all can be sponsors. And why would you want to become a sponsor? Well, you're dedicated to solving summer hunger, and it could be an extension of your current work. Perhaps you already do Cacfp, or you have large youth grants that adding this component would be kind of a natural extension of your current work. Responsibilities of a sponsor, again, the financial administrative work, menu planning and food, staff and volunteer recruitment and training, and some other responsibilities, but those are the main three. And then I'll just go into a site and how it's a little bit different. A site is basically, again, where the meal service takes place, and it is where children already congregate or a location children can easily access. Some examples: schools, parks, pools, churches, places of worship, public housing, day camp, rec centers. The list is pretty extensive, but again, it's kind of where children will kind of congregate. Why would you want to become a site? If you already have a program, meals can attract children to your program, as well as providing nutritious food. Another thing is that if you're already serving food but not getting reimbursed, you can use that money to supplement other things like programming. A site's main responsibilities are distributing and keeping a tally of the meals served and maintaining the health and safety standards of the food and the site. Again, there are more responsibilities, but those are the main ones. So a sponsor is best for programs with multiple sites. If you have a solid administrative and financial capacity, it does require a lot of paperwork. So if you don't have the staff and administrative capacity to do that, sponsorship might not be best for you. If you have cash flow, again, it's a reimbursable program, so you get reimbursed for meals served. So you let state ed know how many meals you served, and then you get reimbursed, but that might be months later. So if you don't have the upfront costs, the cash to upfront those costs, sponsorship might not be for you. And also if there aren't any other sponsors in your area. Sites, however, is best for maybe single site programs, programs that their strength is on programming and not administration, or if you're new to summer food or child nutrition programs, because it is kind of a steep learning curve for the paperwork and the administrative work. And then there are the site types. An open site is a site where any kid can come and have a meal. They are located hopefully in low-income areas, and you can tell if an area is eligible by the two links on the bottom. It has a map. The first one is a map that shows the eligible areas, and so you can kind of see if your site would be eligible for an open site. There's also a closed enrolled. If you're not in an eligible area, you can have kids sign up for your program, and then you just need to show that 50% of the kids enrolled in the program are eligible for free reduced price lunch. And at the bottom, NYSAN has a form that they can fill out, or you can ask for that information from your school district. And a camp is, you have to show that a child is eligible for free and reduced price lunch, but only the kids who are eligible will get their meals reimbursed. So how can you get involved? Again, for access, you can become a sponsor or a site. I have a list of the sponsors from 2015 in the greater capital area. And as you can see, a lot of them have multiple sites, and some of them just have one site. On the right, I have a map from No Kid Hungry. It's a little bit not very specific, but you can see the eligible open areas in orange, and the black dots are current sites. So as you can see, we have kind of a gap in some of the areas that we're not covering with sites. And let's say that you cannot be a sponsor or a site, we'd still love to partner with you. One way is to provide activities. In one of the first slides, I talked about stigma and kids not wanting to go to be seen as needing a free meal. If you have some kind of curriculum or expertise to share, like financial literacy or nutrition education, running club, it would be great if you take the activities to the kids. Summer food does not require an activity component, but it is a best practice. Another way is to help with awareness and spread the word. Again, a lot of families don't know that this program exists and don't know that they can take advantage of it. Another way you can help is to advocate. The Child Nutrition Reauthorization Act is still lagging in the federal government. If you could help push that along, that would be great. Volunteering. Sites can often use volunteers to help serve meals and provide activities. If you have nutritious food or materials like coloring books or sports equipment, sites can always use that. And any other expertise or assistance, for example, with menu planning or transportation, these are all ways you can help overcome those barriers to the summer food service program by not becoming a site or a sponsor. So first steps, if you want to be a sponsor, you need to contact NYSAN, and I put the link there. And then you'll need to attend a training, which for our area is on April 6th. To become a site, you probably want to contact a current summer meal sponsor. Again, the list you can find on the link up above on NYSAN, or you can contact me and I can kind of discuss what kind of program you have, where you're located, and put you in touch with a sponsor that might be good partnership for you. Other ways to partner, again, you can contact me in terms of outreach, volunteering, or contact Hunger Solutions. Misha Marvel there at Hunger Solutions is great to work with as well. And just general information, again, NYSAN has a lot of information on their child nutrition portal, the USDA, No Kid Hungry Center for Best Practices, and the Food Research and Action Center. So thank you for participating on this webinar. This is my contact information, and I look forward to working with you all on increasing the participation in summer food service program. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Jessica. And once again, if anyone has any questions about anything that Jessica presented in the presentation, you can enter any of those questions in the chat box to the right. I'll just do a quick bit of housekeeping here. Someone asked if the slides be emailed to everyone at the conclusion of this event. Yes, we will also be including that along with the recorded webinar link. So we'll have the slideshow available with the recorded webinar. So next up, we have Saleah Blancaflor of ASW NYSAN. She is the Food Programs Coordinator of VISTA. So she's going to be discussing the Child and Adult Food Care Food Program. Once again, I missed that one, in the at-risk after-school snacks and supper program. So Saleah, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you for the introduction, and thanks again to Jessica Underhill for the wonderful presentation on the Summer Food Service Program and summer meals. So before I talk about the Child and Adult Care Food Program, which I know you're all here to learn a little bit more about today, to gain a better understanding of what we do, I wanted to briefly go over what my organization, After School Works New York, the New York State Afterschool Network, NYSAN, does, as well as what my role is and how it fits in with Cacfp and after-school meals. Our mission at NYSAN is to strengthen the capacity and commitment of communities, programs, and professionals to increase access to high-quality programs and services beyond the traditional classroom. So that really drives a lot of the work we do around quality and advocacy for programs. We define after school very broadly, so even though our title says after school, it includes structured activities that take place in community-based settings and are offered before school during summer, so that can include summer camps as well as holiday breaks and weekends. And in terms of access, a lot of the areas our staff work in and does help with increasing funding for programs, school-age child care regulations, recommendations to state agencies, program accreditation, and we also have Vista, who has been working to build the network around as well. And some of the tools we offer are a school community partnership guide, a quality self-assessment tool, and help with food funding enrollment, such as Cacfp, which is what I will talk more about. So as I mentioned, the Child and Adult Care Food Program, Cacfp, is also known as the At-Risk After-School Snack and Supper Program. It is a federally funded nutrition assistance program that helps qualifying after-school programs provide free snacks and suppers to youths and teenagers. And if you're wondering, it is 100% funded by the USDA and administered by the Department of Health. And over 1,000 after-school programs participate in the at-risk, in Cacfp throughout the state of New York. And part of my role is working to make sure that even more after-school programs around the state continue to participate in Cacfp by reaching out to programs in various counties, and that does include the Greater Capital Region. And for more information or any questions that you may have, you can refer to our FAQ handout, which we created with our partner organization, Hunger Solutions New York, in that link provided at the bottom of the slide. So you're probably wondering if you're eligible to receive Cacfp funding and how to determine that. So I will briefly go over some of those requirements. If your program is located in a low-income area served by a public school, so that can include like elementary, a middle school or high school, where 50% of the students receive free or reduced price lunch. If it is operated by a school, public or private organization, if it operates on a regular basis during non-school hours, and if it follows the school calendar of September through June, and if it provides some sort of educational or enrichment activity, so if it provides homework assistance or like recreational or sports activities such as basketball, tennis, any sport, arts and crafts, or any STEM-based activities. A question that I've received while speaking with some after-school programs that I've reached out to is how to know whether or not their program is in an area that is considered low income, and how to determine whether it's in that area that serves 50% free or reduced price school meals to its students. And there's actually a list online provided by healthny.gov. So if you are in any of the Greater Capital Regions, you should be able to click on the link that's below the screenshot, and you should be able to see like whether you're in that school district or whether or not your program serves in that school district. And to tie this in with what Jessica was talking about, if you are a sponsor or a site for summer meals, or if you are interested in being a sponsor or a site for summer meals, and you're also an after-school program as well, and you are in an eligible area to receive CACF funding and don't already even, this is very useful information for you. So you're probably wondering what some of the benefits are for CACFP, you're probably wondering, why should I get enrolled? What are some of the benefits? Well, some of the benefits are that it does improve the qualities of meals and snacks served. Once you participate with CACFP, they provide you with a healthy child pattern and menu requirements, and a lot of that includes the portion sizes of, say, fruits or vegetables, or protein, or what kind of milk you should be serving to your child in order to grow and stay healthy. And I will actually be providing a link that has more information about menu requirements and the healthy meal pattern. And another benefit is that you do receive the monthly reimbursement for eligible meals or snacks. So that's money that's not out of your own pocket. So, if you were using money before to buy snacks or foods for your programs, then that can go towards something else now. And you will also receive free program materials, technical assistant and training opportunities, which are provided by a Cacfp nutritionist at the Department of Health. And lastly, it teaches healthy eating habits to children. So it teaches them to, take the time to consume, their meals and the proper types of food, eating with classmates and family, and it combats hunger as well as obesity and heart disease, which are stuff to be worried about in the long run. So you're probably wondering who you need to contact and how to get started. And if you realize that you are eligible, you can get enrolled, or if you have any additional questions to start the application process, you can contact CACFP at the Department of Health by dialing either one of the numbers below or via email at cacfp@health.ny.gov. And from there, you should be connected to a nutritionist who will answer your questions or help guide you in the application process. And here are some more additional resources. There is a link that talks more about the reimbursement rates. And earlier I'd mentioned the healthy child meal pattern and menu requirements, and there's a link for that as well. I have also included links for Hunger Solutions New York and their after-school meals webpage, and you can always get in contact with Misha Marvel, who I've worked closely with, and they do a lot of great work out there to help combat hunger throughout the state. And then lastly, I again included a link to the Department of Health's website that has a lot more information about CACFP. And of course, you can always reach out to me. I will provide my information on the last slide, and you can also reach out to Jessica, who does a lot of great work as well at the United Way and in that area, and she can for sure get you connected to the right person. So if you're interested in wanting to learn more or become more involved with my organization, ASW NYSAN, you can sign up for our listservs, follow us on Twitter and Facebook, or if you just want any additional child nutrition resources, we have a webpage for that as well, and I've included the link, that last bullet point. And again, here's my contact information. So if you have any questions about the work that I do, anything I can help with regarding Cacfp, or just want to know more about ASW NYSAN, you can always reach out to me via email or at that number. And that's all that I have for my presentation, and I will give it back over to our webinar host.
Great, thank you very much, Saleah. So Saleah's information is here. We also have a final slide at the end of our Q&A session that will have the contact information for both Jessica and Saleah. So if anybody has any questions, please be sure to enter those into the chat box. We have quite a few questions already, but if anybody has any more questions, or if your potential question doesn't get answered in this Q&A session, be sure to enter it into that chat box there. All right, so I have some questions here, and I'll try to direct it towards one of our hosts, but some of these might apply to both of you, so I'll give each of you an opportunity to answer if you have anything you would like to provide. So our first question is, does our program need to have any kind of nutritional expertise to access this funding option? I assume this is in reference to Cacfp. We have begun an exploration of this as an option for our work, but staffing and continued monitoring is a concern. Can you speak to the time commitment involved with reporting and any expertise needed to implement this? So I'm going to turn that over to Saleah, but if Jessica also feels like, Jessica, if you feel like you have some quality information for that question, feel free to jump in too.
Was the question asking if they needed to have nutritional expertise to be involved with the program?
Correct.
I don't necessarily think that would. I mean, I think that if they needed more information about nutrition, they could, like about child nutrition in general, they could always reach out to maybe one of the resources that I had listed, maybe like the Department of Health. They would have some sort of information or training regarding nutrition or child nutrition. So I think that if maybe just like a basic understanding of nutrition, but not necessarily like being an expertise at it. And like I had mentioned, there's a lot of resources like Hunger Solutions and the USDA website, which have a lot of different information and a lot of training guides regarding that on any of the links that I had provided on my slide.
And I'll just jump in. This is Jessica. I know for summer meals you need to have a menu and certain meal components. So when putting together a menu, maybe every 2 weeks, they do need to meet certain nutrition components, but it shouldn't be too hard. It's like a grain, dairy, fruit and vegetable. So when you come up with that menu that meets all the food components, then basically you're good to go. And yeah, again, some of the resources I had on my presentation have nutrition guides and the nutrition standards. So it might take a little bit of work, but you don't need expertise by any means. There are a lot of resources you can tap into, and once you've planned the meals for summer food, it's kind of, you're good to go.
Great, thank you very much. And speaking of like the time commitment, I know I have heard from others, I haven't personally had to handle Cacfp, but I have heard from others that it can be a little bit time consuming. So this is something that we recommend that if you have the staff capacity to do, you should definitely take advantage of this. If you are already strained with staff capacity, it's something that you'll really want to think hard about whether this is something you want to pursue. But you'll want to make sure you have some kind of system in place for handling all the reimbursement forms and whatnot and receipt collection. So you'll want to think and plan ahead before implementing this. Another question we have, as far as the reimbursement rates, Cacfp specifically, is there enough money to actually buy quality food? And then are there any recommendations for the best way to kind of purchase this food? Because everything is reimbursed. So this participant's just wondering what are basically the best practices for purchasing food for their program.
Well, there are definitely a lot of, depending on like where you are, I'm sure there are a lot of different like grocery stores or maybe, yeah, like a lot of grocery stores or local food markets that would be able, like depending on, I guess, the menu, because I had mentioned in my presentation that there was that you would have to follow a menu requirement or the healthy meal pattern. And I think that there are definitely some grocery stores or food markets in your, depending on what area you're in, that have food that would be affordable and that would match the reimbursement rates depending on what they were.
Great. And Jessica, did you want to jump in on that?
Sure. For summer meals, you can either do what they call self-prep, which is you make your own meals, or you contract with a vendor. So if you contract with a vendor, it's negotiation with them on what food they're going to provide and the quality. You have to make sure in your contract that you pay attention to the quality they provide. But there are a lot of resources about best practices in sourcing food for summer meals. But it's really, with summer meals, it's kind of, well, one, if you're self-prep, again, finding good food for your meals that you make yourself, or it's finding a good vendor who is willing to work with you on quality food. And, yeah, I think that is my response to that question.
Great, thank you. And to follow up with that, we have another question regarding the food. Are there any restrictions regarding working with local farms, for example? Do they need to be certified somehow, or can you just purchase food straight from a local farm?
So with that, I actually don't know specifically if there are any restrictions with working for local farms or if they need to be certified in any way. I think that if you were to talk to maybe the Department of Health or look up the USDA website, there would be a lot more information about local farms specifically, because I'm not entirely sure what if there are any restrictions toward that, or if there aren't any at all. So I think referring to any one of the resources that I listed or getting in contact with someone from the Department of Health, they would definitely be able to help you out with that, like knowing the specifics of whether or not you'd be able to work with any local farms or not.
Great, thank you. So we have another question. So here's the question. We want to run a full day summer camp and serve lunch. If 50% or more of the students attending would receive free reduced lunch, is this possible to become a closed site? And they followed up saying they are non-needy area. So Jessica, this question is for you since it is asking about the summer food service program.
Hi. The difference between a closed enrolled site and a campsite, it's kind of hard to distinguish, so you'd have to look into the difference between that. But if you are closed enrolled and you have 50% or more of the kids qualify, all of the meals would be reimbursed. Again, with a campsite, though, it would just be only those kids who qualify their meals would be reimbursed. So you'd have to do a little bit more discussion with state ed on whether your site would be a closed enrolled site or a campsite, and then that would determine how many of the kids you would get reimbursed for.
Great, thank you. And this next question is for Saleah regarding Cacfp. Are there any specific activities or curriculum to help teach healthy eating habits to kids? So is there anything out there as a resource available for programs to find activities or a curriculum to actually implement so that they're teaching healthy eating habits to their program participants?
On our child nutrition website, I actually listed the USDA, I believe, has a tool called MyPlate, which that has a lot of different activities for children where you can implement healthy eating. I think they have like different coloring sheets where you can have kids know like what the different like portion sizes they need in their meals, and there's also different games on there as well that you can use. I haven't looked at all of the resources that are on there, but they have a lot of different ones that I've seen. But I believe I can look up the link and try to include that in the resources or maybe email it out. But I believe it's the USDA My Plate website, and if you look around on that webpage, there's definitely a lot of activities that you could do with your children there.
Great.
Hi, and this is Jessica. There are some organizations locally that do nutrition education programming, like Cornell Cooperative Extension has their Eat Smart New York program, and I know the Regional Food Bank has a Just Say Yes to Fruits and Vegetables. So those are actual like programs that already do that kind of thing if you're looking for someone to lead the education for you rather than finding the tools to do it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's to add on to that, you did mention, Jessica had mentioned the Cornell Cooperative Extension, and they do have they host a lot of workshops for staff that are in programs or after-school programs. I actually had the opportunity to attend one of their workshops last month where they did a lot of activities based on reading like nutrition labels and different activities to do with your children and your youth, and a lot of the tools they had used were from the My Plate website that I had mentioned. But yes, they do, Cornell Cooperative Extension, they do a lot of really great workshops and sessions pertaining to that.
And to just jump on and further elaborate on that question, we actually had one of our attendees provide a resource. Sesame Street actually has a resource regarding eating well on a budget too. And if you would like further information on that, you can reach out to WMHT. They have a coordinator that actually handles a lot of that work. So we can actually, if you have any of those questions to further would like some more information or resources, we will definitely put you in contact with the correct person at WMHT. One more question, and this is directed towards Jessica. Regarding the advocacy, you mentioned advocacy in one of your previous slides. How could I, as an advocate, help push along the child nutrition reauthorization bill? Is there anything I can do specifically?
Hi. There's a lot you can do. There are a lot of letters that you can sign on to. There are numbers you can call to your senator and legislator. I would actually contact Misha Marvel about that because Hunger Solutions is the state advocacy group, and they have a lot of information. But I know that we have been, groups have been going to visit in person to some of our federal legislators. If you want to do a letter writing campaign with your group, in my contact slide, there were some pictures of paper plates that kids did this summer, kind of drawing about, the importance of summer meals. So we did a campaign with that this summer, and then gave those to our legislators, which they always really love. So I think for more ideas, the Food Research and Action Center has some ideas. I would contact Hunger Solutions. And I mean, there's definitely things you can do right now to help that along.
Great, thank you. And I would definitely suggest jumping on the Food Research Action Center's listserv, as well as Hunger Solution New York's listserv. They'll actually send email blasts out with more information regarding any kind of action that can be taken to help support bills relating to child nutrition, anything around food, basically, for New Yorkers. And one final question before we wrap up this webinar, and this is pretty basic question, but I think it's something that a lot of people probably didn't even really have a chance to think about. Where does the actual food come from? So, meaning the food for your program, where would you actually get it from?
Hi, this is Jessica. Again, it's for summer meals, it's self-prep or a vendor. So it's if it's self-prep, depending on your program, you can get food maybe from the regional food bank. You can go buy it yourself or from local farms. And if you work with a vendor, it's basically working with them to source the food.
Great. Thank you very much. So I don't see any more questions. We've been able to answer all the questions that were submitted. We wrapped up a little bit early, but I'm sure everyone appreciates that. So thank you, everyone, for joining this webinar. The contact information is up here. I'll leave this slide up for a little bit longer. So if you have any questions, you can actually reach out to Saleah or Jessica. And a reminder that this webinar was recorded, so we will be sending out the recorded version of it along with all of the slides. So thanks everyone for participating, and good luck, and feel free to reach out anytime.